Hello Lagos, good evening and welcome to Football Domain on your number one online television channel, CTV. I am your host, Wisdom Chimoba, aka The Principal Thing, and I am here to serve you all the fresh updates coming from the world of football. Yes, as the name of the show implies, Football Domain. This is where we get to discuss and dissect everything going on in the world of football. Today we've got a bumper package on the show, and it has to do with the Olympics. That is our major focus on today's show, the Paris 2024 Olympics, where the Super Falcons would be plying their trade, and hopefully they get to make us proud. So we are going to go on a quick break. Once we come back, we'll be delving straight into our conversation of the day. Alright, once again Lagos, you are welcome to Football Domain on your number one online television channel, CTV, and I am your host, Wisdom Shumba, here to serve you all the fresh and fantastic updates coming from the world of football. So like I said before we went on that short break, that our focus today would be on the Paris 2024 Olympics, where the Super Falcons are plying their trade, and the men's football Olympics has already started. Yes, for the female it would be starting tomorrow. That's talking about the women's category of the football, would be starting tomorrow, but for the men it's kicked off today. This and a whole lot more we would be talking about. Well, for the Olympics, for those of you that are not aware, it would be starting on the 26th of July. Yes, the Olympics will be starting on the 26th of July, so that's just about 2 days from now, and it's going to run through to the 11th of August 2024. Yes, so 26th of July to 11th of August 2024. That is the time frame of the Olympics. That is talking about the Paris Olympics 2024. And well, Nigeria would be participating in a whole lot of events. That is Team Nigeria, because we are proudly represented in the Olympics and would be participating in quite a reasonable amount of sports, and this is definitely one that you would be proud of, as well as myself. And let me just tell you the games that we'll be participating in. That is Team Nigeria would be taking part in athletics, would also be taking part in badminton, basketball, boxing, canoeing, cycling, football, table tennis, taekwondo, weightlifting, and wrestling. Now, of all of these events which I've mentioned, we know that in terms of the popularity of all of these sports, we know athletics, basketball, boxing, football, and wrestling, as well as table tennis. These are the major, but other events, the Nigerian team rather would be participating in the Olympics. This is just for you to have an idea of what the Olympics will look like before we go into our conversation proper as regarding football. Yes, especially when it comes to the Super Falcons. Okay, now I'm still on the Olympics. Well, we have 88 athletes who will be representing us in the Olympics. That is this year for the Paris Olympics. Well, the last Olympics went down in Tokyo back in 2020, but this year in 2024 we'll be having 88 athletes that will be representing Team Nigeria in the Olympics. And so our flag bearer for the Olympics is Toby Amusan, and we all know that Toby Amusan, she is in fact our best athlete currently. That is talking about Nigeria in terms of both the continental stage as well as the global stage. The fact that she is the flag bearer for this Paris Olympics 2024 makes her the first athlete from athletics in 20 years to be representing Nigeria, or to be the flag bearer in the Paris in the Olympics. In fact, the last athletes rather, to be the flag bearer for Team Nigeria in any Olympic tournament or Olympic game was Mary Onyali back in Athens. That is in 2004. So 20 years later, Toby Amusan representing the athletes again while being our flag bearer. But the team general captain is the badminton superstar. That's talking about Anu Oluwapo Opeyori. That is the general team captain for the Olympics. So all of this background stories just to give you an insight as to how Nigeria would be faring in the Olympics. So we wish Team Nigeria well, and we hope that they can go out there and perform, because we know they always do when it comes to Olympics. I wonder how many medals you think Team Nigeria will bring. How many golds are you expecting? How many gold medal are you expecting? How many silver? How many bronze are you expecting? Well, for me, I'm expecting more of gold. I wonder if you on the other side as well is expecting gold like I am. Do well to drop your comments, because we are streaming live on YouTube as well as Facebook. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can do well to drop your comments. If I'm opportune, I would get to read them out on air as the show go on. Okay, so now we'll be moving to our major focus of the day, which is football. Now we're talking about the Super Falcons. I have to say, the Super Falcons have been drawn in the group of death. I said earlier at the start of the show that for the men, the men's football has kicked off, but for the women, it will be starting tomorrow. And Nigeria, for the Super Falcons, will be placed in the group of death. By the way, the male, that is the Super Eagles, beg your pardon, were unable to make it to the Paris Olympics. Yes, they did not qualify for the Paris Olympics. So we have just the Super Falcons representing us, which is quite a bummer. But we trust the Super Falcons. We hope that they go well. But that hope, seemed to be a little bit what's the word I'm going to use? But that hope seemed to be fading away due to the fact that we've been placed in the group of death. Why do I keep saying group of death? In that group, we have Brazil, we have Spain, and we have Japan. Now, these countries I've mentioned, these are strong names in the world of football, especially Spain. We know the Spanish national team, they won the last Women's World Cup. For Brazil, we know how strong they are. And then for Japan are the all-conquering team in Asia. So Nigeria having to face all of these teams is a very difficult one. By the way, Nigeria will be taking on Brazil in our first game tomorrow. That is, the Super Falcons will be taking on Brazil in their opening fixture. So if we get to defeat Brazil, hopefully, or if we get a positive result from that game, we might just be setting a good foundation for our ride at the Olympics. Just quite a whole lot of people, or some people rather, have been worried about the form of the Super Falcons, while some are saying, hey, I believe the Super Falcons can go far. Others are of the opinion that they might not go far due to the fact that in our last preparation game or preparatory game, and it was a closed-door friendly. A closed-door friendly last week with Canada. Canada are the reigning champions of the Olympics. They won it in Tokyo 2020. That is for the women's football. Canada are the reigning champions. So the Super Falcons played a closed-door friendly match with Canada, and we lost by a goal to nil to Canada. So some are like, hey, if we can't defeat Canada, then how do you want to go to the big stage? But at the same time, you might also want to you might also want to cut the Super Falcons some slack, because hey, Canada are the reigning champions. The fact that they are the reigning champions, says something about them. Okay, so that is that for the Super Falcons. Well, let me just tell you how the group table stands, for so that you can have an idea of how the Super Falcons, or what the chances of the Super Falcons is when it comes to the Paris Olympics 2024. It's quite some interesting group, a very interesting group for the Super Falcons. We have Spain, that is in Group C. We have Spain, we have Japan, we have Nigeria, and then we have Brazil. That is for Group C. And then still for the women's football, in Group A, we have France, we have Colombia, we have Canada, and then we have New Zealand. And then moving on to Group B, we have the United States of America, we have Zambia, we have Germany, as well as Australia. So now looking at this, I wonder what you think of the chances of the Super Eagles. That is over to you. On the other side, what do you make of the Super Eagles' chances of going far to the Paris Olympics? What are your expectations for the Super Falcons? Do you think they can go all the way to the final? Do you think, once they get to the round of 16, that would be the end? Do you think the semi-final or the quarterfinal? Just do well to tell me what you make of the Super Falcons' chances. How well or how far do you think they can go? Looking at all of the teams, there's France, there's Colombia, there's reigning champion Canada, there's New Zealand, there's the United States, there's Zambia, there's Germany, there's Australia, there's Brazil, Japan, Spain. Do you think the Super Eagles can go far with all of these teams, in the Paris Olympics 2024? So you can do well to drop your predictions or tell me your expectations for the Super Falcons. Well, for those of you that are not aware of the players that will be plying the trade for us at the Paris Olympics, I am going to give you that list so you can have an idea of the players that would be participating for the Super Falcons. This is just to give you an idea of the players that have been called to represent us. Okay, but while I try to get that out for you, we are going to go on a very quick break. Once we come back, we'll be concluding on the Super Falcons, and then we'll move over to the men's football. Yes, where Nigeria, like I said earlier, didn't make it, but we've seen quite some interesting teams, national teams there. Very strong side, very strong sides. But there's a bit of information I'm going to tell you about the Olympics when it comes to the men's football, which I'm sure a whole lot of people are not aware of. But if you want to find out, you can do well to stick around. Let's just go on this break, and we'll be back in a bit. Alright, Lagos, once again, you are welcome back to Football Domain on your number one online television channel, CTV. I remain your host, Wisdom Chinwoba, aka the principal thing, serving you all the fresh updates coming from the world of football. So our focus on today's show has been on the Paris Olympics, yes, where the football, has kicked off. That is talking about the football event or the football category of the Olympics, both for the men and the women. However, the women will be kicking off tomorrow, but the men already kicked off today, and we've been dwelling dwelling on the Super Eagles, and I said when we come back from the break that I would be telling you the players that would be plying out, the trade for us at the Paris Olympics. So for those of you that are not aware, the team captain, that is the captain of the Super Falcons heading into the Paris Olympics, is Rasheedat Ajibade, while the goalkeeper is Chiamaka Nnadozie, and then there's the likes of Osinachi Yele, who is a defender, and then Asisat Oshoala as well was also included. And so just to give you a full list, there's Oluwatosi Demain, we also have Michela Lozier, and then going to midfield there's Deborah Abiodu, there's Alimotu Ayinde, Christy Uchebe, Tony Payne, and going up we also have Esther Okoronkwo, Chinwendu Izeho, and then Uchenna Kanu. Also included to that squad is Monday Gift, as well as Jumoke Alani, and then there's Ifoma Onumono, and we also have Murufa Ademola as well. All of these players that I have mentioned would be the one to ply out the trade. So I've been looking at the list. We've got rich, quality ladies, rich quality players that can deliver for us. By the way, so most of these players in this squad played in the last World Cup, where the Super Falcons were just unlucky to lose on penalties to England before we got knocked out, during the knockout phase. But nonetheless, I feel the Super Falcons can go all the way to the final. And just to give you a bit of an idea of the big names that will be participating in the Olympics for Nigeria. Now, this is just to drift a little bit from football to let you know the big names that will be representing us, especially when it comes to athletics in the Olympics. We have Oluwa Tobi Loba Amuson, that is Tobi Amuson, she's popularly known. She would be representing Team Nigeria in athletics. And there's Ese Brume also in athletics. We have Blessing Oburududu, that is in wrestling, and then there's Favor Ashi, who would be representing us in athletics. We also have Favor Ofili, who is also an athletics an athletic participant, rather, that is the right word to use, beg your pardon. And then we have Odunayo Adekuroye, who is also a wrestler. And then there's Chukwebuka Enekwechi, who is an athlete. And then we have Aruna Kodri representing us for table tennis. We all know Aruna Kodri is at the face of Nigeria when it comes to table tennis. So that is just to give you an idea of how it stands when it comes to the women's football. Now we're moving over to the men's football. Yes, I said I was going to give you a bit of an information of what you didn't know about when it comes to the men and the Olympics. Well, for those of you that are not aware, the men's football, especially when it comes to Olympics, is usually played by the under-23. How many of you are aware of that? I doubt most of you are not aware. Well, the men's football, especially when it comes to the Olympics, is usually played by the under-23. So if you were not aware of that before, that is one new information for you. So let me just give you a bit of background as to how that came about, so you can have an idea. Well, it started back in 1992 when the Olympics was held in Barcelona in 1992. Before then, players were just of all categories, all the age categories were allowed. But due to the fact that FIFA, especially when it comes to football, now this doesn't apply for the women's game, that is for the women's football, it doesn't apply. For the women's football, every age category gets to participate, but for the men, only the under-23. And while the under-23 would be taking part, only three players above the age of 23 is permitted to be part of that squad, just for the sake of experience, so that they can guide the younger players. But for the men, like I said earlier, it is the under 2023. And we started back in Barcelona, as I said earlier, 1992, where male footballers at the Olympics needed to be under 23 years of age, with just three players above the age of 23 allowed. And that one started back in Atlanta in 1996. Okay, well, right now the defending champions. I wouldn't really say they are more of the defending champions because they were not able to qualify. So it means that for the men's football, we'll be having a new winner. Yes, a new winner would be crowned because Brazil did not make it. They did not qualify for the Paris Olympics, so it means that we'll be having a new winner. But Brazil won the last Olympics back in Tokyo in 2020. Brazil won the gold medal when it comes to football, and then second place was Spain, while third place was Mexico. Unfortunately for Brazil, they would not be participating in this one. But let me just give you a rundown of how the group stands, so you can have an idea of how the men's football is shaping up, and for you to know the teams that you would be supporting when it comes to the men's Olympics. So going over to Group A, where we have an interesting group of France, the United States, we have Guinea, and then New Zealand. Now this is one interesting group. We all know France have rich talent when it comes to football. There's no need to dwell much on them. Moving over to Group D, we have Argentina, we have Morocco, we have Iraq, and then Ukraine. This is also another one that you need to look out for. A very interesting group you need to look out for. I wonder, after reading all of these fixtures, I would love to find out from you which group you would tag as the group of death. Moving over to Group C, we've got Uzbekistan, we've got Spain, we've got Egypt, and then there's Dominican Republic. And moving over to Group D, where we've got Japan, we've got Paraguay, we've got Mali, and then we've got Israel. Now we know when it comes to football, especially when it comes to the men's national team, we all tend to have our favorites. Now looking at all of these groups, to be honest, we know France and Argentina, let's say the United States are like the biggest name. You can also include Spain. They are more or less like the biggest names when it comes to the men's Olympics. And I wonder if you're just having that sentiment, or you're having that thought, just like I am, if you're wondering, okay, these guys might just make it all the way to the final, or do you think otherwise? Do you think, hey, there might just be a surprise package? Morocco is there, even Egypt, as well as Japan. We all know that Japan is known to play good football, as well as Egypt and New Zealand as well. So I wonder what you make of the men's football and what your expectations are heading into that one. You can do well to drop your comments. So we are just going to go for one final break, and once we come back, I'm going to check out if there are any comments. I would read out your comment. If not, we'll be going to the final phase of today's show, where I get to give you updates as regard the friendly matches going on currently. We know that this is the preseason. Club football is currently on. That is talking about preseason friendly matches. Teams are going on different tours, and there's a particular team, not even a particular team, the champions of England got whooped. Well, I say got whooped, but it's just for banter's sake. Manchester City lost their own friendly match to Celtic in a very interesting scoreline. This and a whole lot more you would find out. So don't go anywhere, guys. Stick around. We'll be back in a bit. Alright, Lagos, once again, you are welcome back to Football Domain on your number one online television channel, CTV. I remain your host, Wisdom Chimuba, serving you all the fresh updates coming from the world of football. And yes, before we went on that break, I said I would be telling you about the friendly matches that are currently going on during the preseason tour, because a whole lot of clubs, are currently going on their preseason tours as usual in the world of football. But I said Manchester City lost. I have to be specific. Manchester City lost, to Celtic. But before we go into that, let me just tell you how the fixtures for the Olympics stand, both for the female and for the male. So the female would be starting tomorrow. That is talking about the women's Olympics. The games would be kicking off tomorrow. So in Group A, we have Canada taking on New Zealand, and then we also have France taking on Colombia. That is for Group A when it comes to the women. And then for Group B, we have Germany taking on Australia, and then there's the United States taking on Zambia. And then moving over to Group C, we have Spain taking on Japan, and then we have Nigeria taking on Brazil. That is how it stands. So let me to give you in the right order. We have Canada taking on New Zealand by 4 p.m. Spain taking on Japan as well by 4 p.m. Nigeria will take on Brazil by 6 p.m. and then Germany take on Australia by 6 p.m. as well. And then we have the United States taking on Zambia by 8 p.m. and France taking on Colombia by 8 p.m. That is how those fixtures stand for tomorrow. And then for other games, that is moving over to the men now. Earlier today we saw Uzbekistan take on Spain. I'm going to be giving you confirmation of the results in a bit, as well as Argentina and Morocco. Those games went on during the early hours of today. That is before we came into the studio. Those games were currently live, but right now New Zealand is currently taking on Guinea. I would be giving you updates from that game as well, but later on we would see Iraq take on Ukraine. That is today by 6 p.m. Iraq will take on Ukraine today, and then we'll see Japan take on Paraguay, and then France will take on the United States by 8 p.m. That is one blockbuster game. Mali will take on Israel by 8 p.m. as well. So those are the opening fixtures for the men's game, as well as for the women. Egypt, by the way, would be taking on the Dominican Republic. So moving away from the Olympics and back to football, that is club football. Like I said earlier, this is the third time I'm saying it. Manchester City lost. Well, for those of you that are not aware, I am a United fan, so permit me to rub it in on the faces of the Manchester City fans. But Manchester City, in a thrilling game, I have to say, it was a 7-goal thriller that ended 4-3 in favor of Celtic. Yes, Manchester City lost by 3-4 to Celtic in their US tour after taking on Celtic. It was a very interesting game. Manchester City were trailing by 3-1. They managed to find a way back, and made the game 3-3, but they just couldn't hold on, and then Celtic managed to find the back for the fourth time, and that was how it ended. Moving over, we also had other games go down, while some games are currently live and some would also be going down later today. So let me just do well to give you a rundown of all of these fixtures. So for those of you that are the white paper guys, you can do well. If you want to make some cool cash, you can just place your money on all of these games, but hey, don't forget to do it wisely. Don't say you are trying to make 1 million with 15 naira. God is not a magician, and well, except you're a magician yourself. But whatever you're doing, do it wisely. So but though lost to Southampton by 2-3. Then we have Kashima Antlers got destroyed by Brighton 5-1, and then Borussia Dortmund defeated Ceresco Osaka by 3-2. Reims defeated Jubilo Itawa. Okay, it ended 1-1. Reims and Jubilo Itawa. That game ended 1-0, and then FC Cologne defeated Swansea City by 2-1. So right now, the games are currently live. Wolfsburg is taking on Lille, and that game is 1-0. Lille trail by 1-0 to Wolfsburg. 86 minutes in that game, and then half time it is Le Havre taking on Clermont Foot. That game is 0-0. And then 41 minutes is Hellas Verona taking on Virtus Verona. That game is 0-0. And all other fixtures I'm going to bring out for you. Next 3 games are all 0-0. They're just starting. 8 minutes into that game, Bre is taking on Laval. That game is 0-0 as well. We have Marseille taking on SC Toulon. The game is 0-0 as well. And then we have Saint Pauli taking on Lyon. That game is also 0-0 as well. So later on by 5:30, we would see AZ Alkmaar take on Aris, and then we have by 5:30 as well, FC Rotterdam again take on FC Bayern Munchen under Vincent Kompany. That is one game we need to look out for, because Vincent Kompany, the new Bayern manager, and I wonder what Bayern chances are in the Bundesliga if they can climb back to being on top and making the league their own. We wait to find out heading into the new season. And then also by 5:30 today again, we have Schalke 04 taking on FC Twente, and then by 6 p.m. there's Valencia taking on Deportivo Alaves, and we also have Athletic Club taking on Racing Santander. And then by 6:30 as well, we would be seeing Galatasaray take on Lis. There's Osasuna taking on SD Huesca. The Sion taking on Villarreal, Getafe taking on Real Vallecano, or Real Oviedo, beg your pardon. We have Eberron taking on Watford. There's PSV Eindhoven taking on FC Eindhoven, both teams Eindhoven. I wonder what that is for the Dutch teams. PSV Eindhoven taking on FC Eindhoven, and then there's Birmingham City taking on Rangers. There's Chesterfield taking on Derby County, Gateshead taking on Middlesbrough, and the final game of today, for those of you that want to watch, I wonder if Cristiano is going to participate in that game, but Al Nassr will be taking on Portimonense. That is that for the friendly games that would be going on today. So like I said earlier, if you want to make some cool cash and you're a white paper person, you can do well to partake in all of those games, but hey, do not forget to do it wisely. So guys, really I have to say that is the size of the package of today's show. I've had fun dishing out all of this information to you. Sorry I'm unable to take your comments because we are pressed for time, but really I've had fun dishing out all of this information to you, and I know you on the other side as well have had fun listening to the show, and you've been informed as well as entertained, because that is what we do here on CTV. And do not forget that this show is being sponsored by the Adama Sule Foundation. But this is where we draw the curtain. I've been your host, Wisdom Chimoba, aka the principal thing. Guys, do not forget Proverbs 4:7. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And you know what I get in? Get understanding. Goodbye.